Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for this opportunity to come and share our visions and experiences on water and on the consequences that the climate changes may have. I'm very happy to tell you and show you some of our examples, both measures and planning from the city of Aarhus. I have worked on water in 37 years now. I'm educated as a geologist and planner and worked in many countries. The last 10 years I have been responsible for the water and nature department in the city of Aarhus in my hometown, and by that I am responsible for sewage water, drinking water, groundwater and surface water. And therefore also about adaptation to more water in the future. In Denmark, we will experience warmer weather in the future. That is super because it's very cold in Denmark. We also will have enough water in the future, and this is also very good because it is a fundamental issue for our society. And just in Southern Europe and other places, this is a very severe problem that won't have that. So the only thing we have to manage in Denmark is that we will have more intense rainfall and a higher sea level, exactly as our colleagues showed us this morning here from Gdansk area. We adapt to these new conditions. We already have started. In Aarhus, we realized that the water level will increase about between 0.5 meter and 0.75 meter in this century. We will have more intense and more extreme rainfalls, as we also saw this morning from Gdansk area. And we will have warmer weather. Warmer weather results in more energy, and therefore we also will have stronger storms. Aarhus is a city nearly like Gdansk. We have water on both sides, fresh to the west and salt water to the east. So we have the threats of the rising sea level and also the problems with rising groundwater and more intense rainfalls. Within the last 10 years, we have experienced about 5 storms that have resulted in problems. This is from the inner city of Aarhus. And this 4 years ago, I will return to this event later. So these events, especially the one in 12, resulted in political awareness of this problem. So at the moment we have a new climate adaptation plan decided by our city councillors. And this climate adaptation plan is an addendum. That means it's a part of the municipality plan. That means that we have some regulations and guidelines that must be fulfilled if you make new build-up areas, for example. All 98 municipalities in Denmark have made that plan, such a plan. And also in this plan we have a very detailed survey of the streamways on the surface. I will give you an example in a little. This plan also is part of a democratical process because it's part of our city plan. So we have had this plan in public hearings and meetings, and it is decided by the City Council. I think it is very, very important to underline that this is not only a water issue. This is a society issue with rising sea level and the more intense rain. And we have done a big job to incorporate the rest of the society in this issue. So we have political attention to it. And we have investments from the water utilities and other partners. And it is because the water resilience is very essential for our welfare. So we have a line where water is integrated part of the city growth. We cannot imagine city growth without taking care of our water in a very smart and intelligent way. In Aarhus we have about 5,000 new inhabitants every year, so we have to manage this very well. We have some of the same problems as we have seen here from Gdansk. We are close to the sea, we have hilly areas, we have a short runoff, and we have nearly the same geology. That the water is a society issue is also due to the fact that our infrastructure is harmed if we don't coordinate these things. So we have, in fact, climate adaptation in Aarhus. It is the 5 words: time and space for water. And behind that line is, for example, all the retention basins, as you also saw here from Gdansk, and I will show you some here in a minute. We also rethink our city planning. Water has never before been a very big issue in city planning, and therefore we must start all over again and have water as a very important partner in the city planning. How we use open land, how we use our forest, that could also be an issue in this area, because we use also our land, open land, to retain water. We have also business development on the water sector in Denmark. Historically, the water market has been very important for Denmark, and we have a lot of companies working all over the planet. Also, we have a lot of recreational benefits. if we can incorporate it in a proper planning. And of course, it's very important to involve our citizens and stakeholders. As here in Poland, in Denmark, we have a democracy with private land ownership. So basically, it's the private landowners that must adapt to new water conditions. But of course, we have the know-how and we have a lot of information, and we take care of the infrastructure and all the public buildings and so on. Besides the adaptation plan, we have guidelines for our city planning. We know where the flooded areas are or will be. So there we have guidelines that it's not allowed to build there, or you must adapt your buildings to future floodings. Near the harbor, we have minimum levels for new buildings. We have made a sluice and pumps in the river outlet. I'll show you that in a minute. And for a whole community, we have with 12 measures fulfilled adaptation plan for this society. One of the main drivers in our climate adaptation is that we are separating our sewage, with sewage in one pipe system and rainwater in another system, mainly on the surface, and 70% is done, but we still need the city center. And when we put a shovel in the ground, we must always think about climate adaptation. Also, we have local management of rainwater in our local plans. So in every new local plan, we know where the water will come in due to rainstorms, and we also wants to give guidelines where it's coming out. We have a small stream, River Aarhus, where we have constructed a high water gate to protect the town center from flooding. And we have also integrated this with our fire department and our police force in emergency plans, where the city council play a very important role. It's not only the risk of drowning that's the problem, because one of the problems is also that in this situation you have sewage on the ground, and that can be very dangerous. We also work on more information to our citizens with home pages, and also they can find maps of areas in risk of flooding, and we have online warning systems. In Denmark, due to the melting of the ice from the last ice age, the land is rising about 1.5 millimeter each year. But this rise is drowned by the sea level, because the sea level is rising even higher. That means that at the moment we have a sea level rise about 4 millimeters netto in Aarhus, and that could nearly be the same here in the northern part of Holland. This is in fact Aarhus many years ago. As you can see to the right, there's a lot of water, and this is our brewery. So when I make this speech in Aarhus, everybody knows where this is, at least. This is in the central part of the city. And our planners, they sometimes say, wow, when they see that this is the area today, it's the most populated area in the city center. That's based on this water area. And of course, with rising sea level, with rising groundwater level, this is in highly risk in the future. So history is very important also as a city planner to prevent flooding in the future. The red star shows the location of our new pump and sluice. This was in 2011, and this is 2 years ago. The cost was about 26 million zloty. And our colleagues in the Aarhus Water Utility, they have calculated that the benefit is more than 326 million. And I can show you why. It's because in periods of high water in the bay and in the Baltic Sea, we can close the floodgates. Then we have the discharge from the river. So we have pumps that can pump up to 20 cubic meter per second. And that means that also in periods of heavy rainstorms in the middle of Aarhus, we can start the pumps and use the area behind the sluice gates as a long reservoir, several kilometers long reservoir. And that is worth all this money, because it's very expensive to make retention basins in the middle of a center of a city. This is one of the gates. And this is very important, because this shows streamways on the surface when the sewage is full. So here we will have the flooding in Aarhus. We have maps of all the city like this. And also here, this shows where the water will sample during rainstorms. This is a very important tool in our city planning. This shows the white dots shows houses that was drowned or affected by water during a rainstorm 4 or 5 years ago. And here we have a new retention lake. It was built 10 years ago. Here we have the rainfall. Here we have the water level in the lake. The lake is a recreational area. There's no infrastructure, there's no houses, so it's no problem that we have a high water level in the lake. And the blue one to the right shows the inlet, and the red one the outlet. So the difference shows the reservoir capacity of this lake that is due to about 800,000 cubic meters. So the houses below this area, they was not affected by this event. So this is a nice example of how theory and practice works together. This is another example of where we have recreated wet areas as retention basins, just outside the city. You can see the city center in the background. This park, under this park, we have also a retention basin made by our water utility. So the water utility is a company owned by the municipality. Here's also an example where we use this mapping of where we have the water in the future. This is in fact the largest totally new hospital in Denmark, where we have used these principles in our planning of this whole of this area. Here lastly, I will show what we've done in this community I told you about with 11,000 inhabitants. We had flooding in rainfall in August 12, with about 200 reports of damages to insurance companies from houses. We have 12 different places where we have a special solution. This is not rocket science, and but nevertheless we have made it, and we also have implemented in our regulation and in our planning. This shows the different projects, and here is one of them. We had a small meander on the river, and now during rainstorms, the rainwater will not flow down the hill into the houses. It will now, because we have altered the dimensions and the slope, it will go into this new lake in the green area. This is from the other angle. Here we have retention in a park, and the houses in this area was in fact flooded in 12. We are aware of making not only retention, not only recreation, but also biodiversity. So we ask, what will a frog think about this? How can we optimize it for also biodiversity? And here you can see we have a lot of flora, different flora, because we have people to think about it and realize it in this project. And we also have a visit from Poland. We have the municipality and the water utility from Radom last year. Here's the mayor of Radom, and they also because they have a European Life project concerning some of these tasks here. And here there is one of my colleagues, and there's also representatives from one of the partners here, FPP in Viro, in this project. And I heard that this year or next year, some of the same blue and green infrastructures will be built in Radom. Okay. Lastly, if you have the time, I will recommend you to visit Aarhus this year, because we are in fact the European capital of culture. And I know that after summer there will be a direct flight from Gdansk to Aarhus, so you have no excuses. Thank you for your attention.